In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a cheap and realistic dry stone wall using real stones. Now, you can search for stones outside, but you can buy a big bag of chippings from builders, merchants and the like for not very much. These are 10mm limestone chippings and cost a bit over £7 for a 25kg bag, which will probably keep you going for the rest of your crafting life. You can buy cheaper stones and from cheaper places, but I wanted limestone as it looked more like dry stone walls, and the cheaper place had sold out the small bags of small stones, and a bulk bag would be overkill, as that's the sort of thing you buy to cover several square metres of ground. Bigger stones, such as the 20mm limestone chippings, are easier to work with, but the smaller ones are more to scale. Before using the stones, I rinsed them clean using an old broken sieve, then cooked them in the oven at a high heat to sterilise them. Just because they were new and not scavenged from the garden or anywhere else didn't mean that they were either clean or sterile. I have two broad variations of the walls. The first is the baseless wall, which is more modular, as strips of walls can be placed end to end or joined to each other. The baseless wall does have a base, a strip of thin cardboard. I'm using one 1/2 inch wide, painted either grey or brown. You could use such as a coffee stir stick or lollipop stick instead. Try to make sure that it is wide enough, otherwise there can be a degree of instability with taller walls, thanks to the wall being too much wider than the base. Though you can skip this, it does provide a place to start from to ensure the wall is straight, and it also means there is a bit of protection between the stone walls and whatever they are placed on. I'm using gel superglue to stick the stones together. Superglue does stick stone together, but it also takes a few minutes to bind. If you have superglue activator, hitting it with a spray every now and then can speed things up. However, I lack any activator, and as I usually make several of these at the same time, I just move from one wall to another, and by the time I come back to the first, the superglue will have set. Place the first layer of stones, sticking them to the base. This is kind of like a puzzle, trying to get them to fit together. Once the first layer is done, continue finding stones to fit in the different places, and keep adding them until it's the right height. This is time consuming, but oddly soothing, like a strange jigsaw. I've done this wall to about 1 inch high, and there are a few gaps where you can see through it. Now, this step is optional, but I'm taking a few stones and sticking them to the outside to hide the most obvious gaps. I keep doing this until all the gaps are filled. This is another optional step, which is to add some sponge flock. I'm using some of my homemade sponge flock, which I'll link to, and I'm taking 2 colours of it, mixing it with some PVA glue, and then putting it in various places on the wall. This is another optional step. I've got a homemade green wash, made using green acrylic paint, water and a touch of washing up liquid, and I'm dabbing it on in various places, so that it looks like lichen. And another optional step, once the green wash is dried, is to cover the entire wall with Black Magic Crafts basic blackwash. This wall is a simple 4-inch long straight piece, however you can make other variations. These are smaller sections of straight wall. These are a corner, a T-section, and a cross. They also have the cardboard bases, and the easiest way is to just stick straight pieces together with tape, rather than try and cut the shapes. Sticking the stone to the cards strengthens the joints. These are columns made 3/4 of an inch square and a bit higher that could be used to represent gateposts. This is a stone stile. These are ruined pieces of wall, a ruined pillar, and 3 long sections. This is the middle ruined, this the end ruined, and this the middle with surrounding debris. The walls can then be placed next to each other in various configurations. The next variant is the based wall. The based wall is an individual piece of scatter terrain and is mostly made using the same method. The difference is that first I cut a piece of foam board the size I wanted and beveled the edges. I painted it black and marked out the area where the wall would be in pencil. This was easiest to do by placing a strip of card the right size on the base and drawing around it. Once dry, I marked where I wanted the wall to be on the base. Then I added the stones in the same way as I did with the baseless pieces. Once the wall was finished, I added some texture to the foam board. This can be done by painting the foam board with PVA, then covering it in sharp or construction sand, knocking off the excess, and then, once dry, dripping some water PVA mix slightly diluted from 50/50 with some washing up liquid added to lock everything in place, then painting it all black. In this case, I mixed together the sharp sand, black paint and PVA to make a basing mix, and applied it directly to the foam board. Once the basing mix had set, I gave it an overbrush with burnt umber. Following that, a dry brush with white. Next I gave it an optional black wash, this time doing it before I added any moss. Then the optional green wash. I then dabbed PVA onto the base and poured on some homemade coarse flock made using a variant of miscast method, which I shall link. Once the glue had dried, I used a soft makeup brush to remove any excess. I then used the same water, PVA and washing up liquid mix on top of the flock to help lock it in place. Again, as an optional step, I added some of my homemade foam flock. Just as with the modular walls, you can make the scatter walls in different shapes, and you can also make different bases using or not using flock, making them bigger or smaller as desired. Want to help support the channel? Then please like, comment, subscribe, share, join our Patreon, or buying through the Amazon or drive-through links below helps support the channel at no cost to you.